If you are just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to AspenLandHoldings.com. Are you looking for a place to protect your hard-earned money from inflation? Maybe you want somewhere you can get away from the rat race and connect with your family. Maybe it's time for a fresh start from the place you are now. Whatever the reason for buying land of your own, Aspen Land Holdings has you covered. We have been able to help hundreds of clients own property with our simple and straightforward buying process. We own the properties you see on our website, so you will deal directly with our sales team from start to finish, and you will always have a real person to chat with at any time during the buying process. The best part, there is no credit check, so you qualify for this amazing opportunity. Our goal is to help people own an appreciating asset to hedge against inflation and to keep it simple throughout the entire process. You can buy a property now that will be in your family for generations to come. We offer low down payments and a variety of monthly payment options to fit your budget. There are no prepayment penalties or hidden fees, so you will know exactly the cost upfront from the beginning. Ready to make 2022 the year you take the leap and buy land? Just head on over to our website, www.aspenlandholdings.com, to check out our current inventory of beautiful properties. We are looking forward to helping make your dreams come true.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio, Mondays at 1 and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest, Bonnie Gringer. And Bonnie, for her business, while envisioning a new digital economy during the dawn of the internet, she started a pioneering new business model for innovative startups and Fortune 500 companies. Her journey began at fashionmall.com, one of the first fashion portals and PPC models, later going public, and went to raise over $5.5 million in mezzanine financing for a teen fashion e-commerce startup. She shook things up, spearheading new divisions at fashion powerhouses and single-handedly bootstrapped a new and sustainable fashion e-commerce marketplace startup that is remaining the way brides shop. Okay, so then she goes on and she got married a few years ago to the man of her dreams, but that it wasn't that dreamy. So
it wasn't always that dreamy.
It wasn't always that dreamy. Okay, so she's going to share about how she went from growing up in the fashion industry in New York and working at a family chain of off-price fashion boutiques. She then realized secondhand could turn the average $35,000 wedding to under $10,000. So this is what we're going to talk about today and more. Welcome to the show, Bonnie.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me and helping us share this vision and mission of ours.
Yes. And this show actually came about based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And we have had just about every situation. I didn't have a crystal ball, but I wrote it right before the pandemic, and
Wow.
actually had to put it on hold until a certain point when I could release the book. So it's really something we could never fathom, all these crazy things that have happened
Yeah.
and are still happening. It's wild. I want to wake up to 1999.
Absolutely. I can relate. That's, my
Yes,
life story. And I guess many people
yes,
bootstrapping and getting back on the horse.
yes, yes. So I'd love for you to share about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Well, yeah, actually, and that's how, I started Share the Lovely. You mentioned a few years ago, I married the man of my dreams, but it has not always been that dreamy.
Mhm.
For almost 2 decades, I had a very rough situation in marriage. I actually started a support group and locally, and we had about over 200 members to help support women, men, that have gone through the same similar situations. So that was really tough. But then I met the man of my dreams, which was unexpected and wonderful. I didn't ever think that would happen. When I finally did, I wanted to, have the wedding of my dreams to represent that miracle that I found. But now I'm broke because of this 2 decades of insanity.
Mhm.
Trying to figure out how to, make this beautiful wedding that represented this miracle. Growing up in the fashion industry and then off-price fashion, I realized, well, there's all these weddings every year and you wear the dress and you use the items for a couple of hours.
Mhm.
So let me try to find all that great stuff, at a quarter of the price or half the price. But it was a big mess. It did not work. There wasn't an opportunity to find those items. And that's how I came up with Share the Lovely. But in going through all this, there was a lot of challenges, in even starting Share the Lovely, downsizing my family, my finances, giving up a very high paying, position, and really going for it. It's all been a very big challenge.
Wow. Yes. So now on the other side, you have this new company, and I'd love to hear more about how that works. Let's just pretend I'm getting married. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, so, prior, even before the pandemic, 65% of Americans are 2 paychecks from bankruptcy. I was in the same position when I got married. So, but you want the wedding of your dreams. You want this fairy tale wedding, whatever that is to you, whether it's driving down Main Street on motorcycles with your motorcycle gang or having your animals there or a beautiful fairy tale wedding with a princess dress. Everybody wants that. But the average wedding is $35,000. So there's a disconnect, and, being that a wedding provides $35,000 worth of items that you only wear once or use once for a few hours, there's an opportunity to purchase all that product. But how do you do that? So Share the Lovely is reimagining the way that modern brides shop. So everybody likes resale, but for weddings and wedding dresses, shopping online is great, but then and brides and couples do that for 700 hours for a year. They plan their wedding. But for the wedding dress, shopping online is a challenge. So when I was shopping for my wedding dress and trying to buy resale pre-owned items so I could buy a $3,000 dress for, $600-700, which is more affordable, I was doing that through what's available now, which is marketplaces. So brides selling to other brides in like a classified ad kind of environment. So here I am for months setting up appointments with these past brides to try on a dress. I'm not going to go to their house necessarily. So we're trying to find places to meet, like at a Walmart or Target, bathroom or dressing room. It just really is very, very difficult. So Share the Lovely is, realize that, okay, online shopping is great. You have this online assortment. You want to shop for, pre-owned items, which is, up to 75% off, but you still need to try, most of the time you need to try the dress on, not only for fit, because it's a challenge, wedding dresses are very complex. You have ball gown dresses with 5-foot trains. it's not easy to do that, through a marketplace. And sometimes you can, because some dresses are simple, they're not as complex. But many dresses aren't. Plus, you want that, you want to bring your bridesmaids with you to try on your dress and your family. So what Share the Lovely has done is reimagine it in that we have this online marketplace, sort of like ThredUp meets Uber. So we match real-time demand, online shopping to local retail participants. So our brides could select online dresses, and then we can have them do fittings at their local bridal boutiques.
Nice.
So we give them the opportunity to have this great selection at half or up to 75% off, but then they can go offline to try their dresses on at their local boutiques. So we match them up with our participating network boutiques. So that's kind of how we are, we're different, a new business model, but really helping brides to, modern brides to, get the right fit and the right dress without all that risk online, and with a really beautiful experience at the end.
Yes. Oh, that makes sense, because then the boutiques, they already have somebody that does alterations. So if they pick the dress, they can get the measurements and they still get some business out of that, plus whatever rental fee. And that makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Because, and that's a good point, most dresses need alterations.
Yeah.
So when you have a dress, we could ship to brides. That's great. If they want us to ship directly, that's perfect. But really, what's going to end up happening is they have to go to their boutique or their seamstress and get that alterations, because most dresses have alterations. They need some sort of alteration. So we kind of get them there. We get them there. They're going to be there. They're going to get there anyway to that alteration. So we kind of create that whole experience in one.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that is. And it saves money. It makes sense for so many people, because you're starting out and usually it's like, okay, and then they're going to get a home together. And I think there's some kind of show on TV, and I forgot the name of it, where they decide, do they pay for the wedding or do they pay for their home?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tough one. Some people will rent for an extra year or two because they wanted to pay for this wedding, and this way they can have both. And I know for me, whenever I'm asked an option of one or two choices, I always want both.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't have to give up anything, because if you share, you do that circular kind of shopping, you're gaining, you're not losing anything, because a dress that's worn for a few hours, or wedding items that are worn for or used a few hours, they almost retain all their value.
Yes.
So the only challenge is, how do you circulate that properly and give an opportunity? But it's not only for the brides. What we're doing is we're kind of teaming up and collaborating with the small mom and pop boutiques who are struggling. Even before COVID, 10% went out of business in just a few years. It's really challenging right now for boutique, small businesses, any businesses, to keep up with e-commerce, and especially for bridal boutiques, it's a whole other world, not to go into it. But so we're providing them with this new way to drive more traffic to them, to drive more sales to them, and collaborating with them to allow them. So we're kind of catering to also the alternative bride, LGBTQ, alternative dresses, Black dresses, colored wedding dresses, items that a bridal boutique couldn't stock. But we could help them to match them with these alternative brides in their neighborhood, through online to local matchmaking. So that makes it really unique and helps them to cater to everyone in their vicinity, in their community.
Yes. Yes. Now all we need is the matchmaker to get the couples together. That matchmaking.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. Yeah, we can't help them with that, but absolutely.
That's the next. That's so good. Yeah, because now it's so interesting. I think weddings are down, and births are down, because of all this. People are just not sure with the COVID, and I think it's kind of been a decline for a while. None of my grown kids are married. They just didn't want to buy into that yet. So,
yeah, I think a lot of the new generation is waiting longer, which I think is smart. With COVID, I mean, weddings stopped. That was a big challenge for us, because we launched just as COVID started.
Oh, right.
And then, so we launched and there's no weddings. And we're obviously not the only ones. All the boutiques experience the same thing. So now all these boutiques had all these wedding dresses that they can't sell during the season because there was no weddings, there was no proms,
Right.
Which we also tried to help because now, so while COVID is really dampening and hurting weddings, and these bridal boutiques have all this leftover inventory. What we did is we now helped sort of pivot and we said, okay, well, let's help these boutiques sell online because, they have a small staff. They can't do online business. They don't have e-commerce capabilities or marketing or digital marketing know-how. So now we become this digital marketing arm for bridal boutiques who are overstocked. So we take their dead stock, publish them online, help them to sell. So we really become like partners with them in this like time of crisis. So kind of helping each other out. So it's been really kind of a beautiful situation in that way.
Nice. So now what tips do you have for people getting married to save money, to plan ahead? When should they start planning? What tips do you have?
Well, I mean, we do a lot of blogs and we do a lot of these tips and, advice. Truly, I think things have changed with the pandemic. I think being more mindful, not throwing money at a wedding, but really trying to personalize it through, customizing the experience, making it represent who you are as a couple. And to do that, it means not spending huge amounts of money. Maybe it's some DIY. It's also maybe instead of, bridal gifts, maybe doing donations. Maybe your wedding favor is planting a tree for everyone in your bridal party or even all your guests. Really including them in the experience and making it a very beautiful, mindful expression of your love. And there's just a lot of ways to make your wedding exciting and personal. That isn't about glitz and glam anymore. It's about how can we help the environment? How can we help our community? There's a lot of donations that you could do that seem to be really just more effective now than it used, just a whole different experience.
That's nice. So nice. So now how did you started out in the tech industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually it was fashion / tech.
Okay.
Sort of in the dawn of the internet. I kind of saw the vision of like a new economy and started again, like you mentioned, at fashionmall.com. It was like one of the first fashion portals. We had the first PPC model. They went public. I kind of went through, the .com phase and then the bubble burst. At one point, I got in a bad situation, as I mentioned earlier. So almost 2 decades of kind of a pause in my life where I was kind of not a prisoner, but just trying to hang on.
Yeah.
And that was really, really tough. Getting here today to me is a huge, it was a huge challenge. So going through this destructive relationship changed me. I become extremely kind of introverted, stage fright. This whole situation here, doing this to me is being on stage. Very, very difficult for me.
Okay.
Starting your own business, going out there and trying to educate a market and consumers on a whole new way of doing business that's not available. It's very, very difficult for most people, and definitely when you're introverted, and definitely when you've been sort of compromised by your confidence. So this whole thing for me, I guess this is a perfect fit for me to be on this show with you now, because getting through this and keep going with all the pivots with COVID, with any new business, realizing your pricing is wrong, your market fit has to change. Every day is starting over, and it's exhausting. Reinventing your business plan. Right now, we're reinventing our pricing model because through feedback with our collaborating network participants, our boutiques, we realized that we kind of were going down the wrong track. So, and in doing that, you've got to reinvent your back end, your system, your pricing, your commission structure. It's just, it's been a long haul. It's been a few years, and we're still learning, every day. So
Yes. Yes. And, those difficult marriages, I had an arranged sort of marriage, a situation where I was forced into this, and we were completely on different ends of the planet. My goals were so different, and
yeah,
lifestyle and everything about me it was night and day. And we just never really aligned on anything but the children. So,
yeah.
and I had literally, even in wills from relatives, if I get divorced, kids got no college. So I
Oh,
had
no.
so and
Yeah,
I should have left anyway, but anyway, and I finally did, but it was very hard. So I get
yeah,
that. And when
yeah,
you're in a situation that's not aligned, so I think it's really important to do the pre-work,
yeah,
do some consulting with somebody that
yeah.
does that. I do that sometimes as well with people, that to help you figure out what marriage looks like, because people date, and
Right.
dating is romantic and love, and you've got all this oxytocin is floating
Yeah,
around, and you're happy and you're in love,
yeah,
and then you get married, and one person has a vision of marriage and their future that looks a different way, and a wife or a husband does this, and a husband or wife or whoever the other partner is does that. and
yes,
and if that vision is not aligned,
yeah,
you're going to keep, both are fighting for what they believe is their fairy tale. So get
exactly.
on the same page before, save hundreds of thousands of dollars, fights,
Yeah,
time, and before you bring children into the planet, especially during these times, to be able to be aligned, even as parents, if you plan to have children or
yeah,
to adopt,
mhm,
that you're able to be on that same page, because
yeah.
that's going to just make all the difference. It's going to save you so much.
The emotional strain, of course, financial, because, you make this decision, and I thought I was old enough. I think I was 30. Gosh, I was in my 30s when I got married. I figured I knew, but I made some really bad decisions. Yeah, you have this romantic idea, and you feel like that's not going to change, but it should be a prerequisite to really look into what are you doing? Do you have the same goals? Because you're making a decision that follows you. It followed me for almost 2 decades, and now my children too. So it's so true. These decisions, these lifelong decisions, you feel like, oh, you're making a decision for yourself, but now you have kids involved.
Mhm.
And then you have, courts involved. So, which is actually, interestingly enough, what we're getting with our consignment items is brides that never even made it down the aisle. They got engaged, they got these dresses, and then they don't get married.
Right.
Or sadly enough, you have divorce. And how many
Yeah.
people get divorced? 40, 50%. So, the old adage where, your mom hands down her dress. Well, one thing, it doesn't work, because now brides, they want their own dress, but they don't want to hand down their dress that they got divorced. So there's this whole new world. It really
Mhm.
is. But yeah, that was a really, really, really big challenge, and it still is actually a big challenge. But keep going.
Yes, yes. And doing those things in advance, getting help, really doing some consulting or counseling, marriage counseling before, pre-marriage,
Yeah,
before, so that you're really on the same page, is going to make all the difference. I
yeah,
totally believe that. And then, having both, to be able to reduce that stress of, okay, you spent a lot of money on a wedding.
yeah.
Now you have to rent instead of buy. Then
Mhm,
you're stuck in this difficult, where you both have to work extra hours,
mhm.
and
You're in debt.
in debt already. And then,
Yeah,
that's going to cause fighting and
yeah.
stress, and
Oh,
you're not going to see
absolutely.
each other. And so that, if you can avoid that,
Yeah,
that's priceless, really, because
right.
what in the end, the connection with people, our loved ones, having those memories, times, travel, fun,
Yeah,
is more important than all these other little things. And
that's right.
a lot of times when you're having a wedding, it's for yourself, but make sure it's for yourself and not for, a show.
That's right. That's right. It's the experience. It's your connection with your loved ones. That's really, 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 really where the focus should be. not, how much stuff could we get?
Yeah.
But if you're going to get stuff, try to, pre-owned, resale. There's so much out there. 2.5 million weddings just in the United States alone each year. Can you imagine how much stuff goes to waste? I mean, just think about, the fashion industry is the second most wasteful industry in terms of pollution. I mean, think of wedding dresses. The volume of the dress itself has to be the worst offender, and then it's the most expensive item in your closet at $2,000. It shouldn't stay there and just stay there and end up in a landfill as well. But that goes for all your wedding items, all your decor, it could go to use, it doesn't have to be, go to waste and go, towards more pollution. So it's really the perfect items to go into pre-owned or resale because it's only used for a few hours, Yeah,
I mean,
that's what we felt.
I totally agree. You don't wear it that long and then you're in the party dress or whatever, and then you go. So it does make a lot of sense. Now, how did you find your way to the fashion industry? How did that show up in your life? Did you always love that as a child, or?
Yeah, good question. I grew up in the fashion industry. I grew up in New York, and my father had a chain of, high fashion footwear stores and accessories, and they were off price. So, I understood very early on buying retail was not a good idea. It's off price or pre-owned, and how to be resourceful with your money and, know quality. It doesn't have to be new, or it doesn't have to be, MSRP. But I grew up in the industry. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. I ended up in manufacturing, and then got into technology. At the dawn of the internet, got involved in fashionmall.com with some, really cool, cutting edge, startups. And for me, that was really exciting, is change the world. There's all these new opportunities and ways to shop and get information online. And lo and behold, that happened. Online shopping is, the number one growing industry. And, that's really kind of how it started.
That's incredible. So parents listening in, bring your children into what you're doing, into your work, into your passions, your hobbies, things that they're going to also love and learn from. Sounds like you had the greatest training just at home or at the shop with your family, learning about these things. And I too came from that industry, believe it or not. Wild is my grandparents had Catalina Sportswear, White Stag, El Capitan.
Wow.
And so Catalina was like the swimsuit would be worn on all the motion pictures, this and that back then. And
I know that brand. Absolutely.
And the reason I have the bra on my book cover is because we sold a lot of bras too. They made, matching undergarments. And my grandmother would bring me to that factory every day. She called it the factory back then. And we would supervise 200 people making all these items. And I would just be there. And so my first day at kindergarten, I sold my teacher a new bra. I told her, her name was Mrs. Baroni. I said, you really need to talk to my grandma because, we have something better for you.
That is awesome.
That's it. So that was my experience. And I learned sales. And then my other family members that I stayed with for a while, they were into real estate. So I got all that and had my own stores and worked a lot with the people at the California Mart. And and I still, to this day, I feel fabrics. And I mean, like I'll buy based on the feel. I'll check the stitching. I'll know how to I could go anywhere. I could go to any thrift store and put together a beautiful outfit in a second because you just know. Yeah. And so that's it. Don't protect your children from that because that's the best education, especially now that there's sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, my kids are home with me now and I'm working from home. What a gift. This is a gift.
That's a good point. Regardless of what happens, if we're a small business or a multinational business, they see, and my whole family has been entrepreneurs. So, I tell them the stories and I explain to them, how some failed and some succeeded, the greatest successes of all times failed a dozen times. You know, I'm not going to go into a list, but everybody knows that, you know, you learn from your mistakes. You know, never give up. Do it your own way. You know, shine from where you shine. And I try to, you know, teach them that. They hear me in all these meetings. They hear me on my conference calls. They're working with my developers in India, with which is Atlas Soft Web. I love them to death. And my, you know, social manager, Jamie Ake, in the Philippines, and Tracy Lamore across the country, my PR manager, and you know, Sheila Halali, who's my partner. She's actually local with me here, but you know, family's originally from Iran. You know, so they hear me speaking with everyone, and I hope they're learning from that. You know, to go for your dreams. You know, and not feel like you have to just follow someone else's path, you know, or someone else's company or a position, that you could do your own thing. So I hope that they, you know, learn from that.
Yes. Now, both of us are entrepreneurial for sure. And so do you have any tips for the audience as far as starting a business? Or a lot of people are now looking into a side business where they've been traditional 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And for them, it's completely new.
Definitely look to your local entrepreneurial, you know, consultants. They have like SCORE and Small Business Association that can refer you out to local. I truly, you know, I like to do things my own way, but what I realized is that we have a lot of people and networks that we can gain, you know, information from. Like you talk about marriages, other people that got married and did the wrong thing. You could listen to others' mistakes, successes. Some things I didn't do. I kind of started out too much. I built too much out first without testing, and scale back. It took a lot of time to do that. You know, you build up a lot and you have to scale back. That takes time, resources, technology, developers. That's something I didn't listen. You know, if I had to, like some of my advisors and consultants, I would have saved a lot of time, a lot of money. So there's really a lot of resources out there that I would definitely recommend. And actually listening to, I listened to them in a lot of ways, but some things I didn't. I said, oh, I know better. I have this strong feeling about, and sometimes you just can't follow your gut instinct. Sometimes you have to listen to others.
Yes. I know I opened my first gift store at 23, 5,000 square feet, $1 a square foot. And I had 6 months free rent. I thought 6 months was like a lifetime because I was so young, and time went by. And one day I was, you know, trying to figure out how to do everything myself, all by myself when you start, you know, and barely hiring people.
Yeah.
And one day all these men in suits came into the store. And I thought, oh my goodness, I must have messed up on the sales tax. They're going to take me away.
Yeah.
It turned out to be President Clinton. He spoke at Glendale College, and then he ate at the Rocky Cola Cafe nearby, and then he came in and we gave him free gifts, obviously, and you know, had this photo op. He held my baby, my daughter at the time, and so it was really interesting. And the next day, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I should have read that chapter on, you know, getting a CPA or having somebody help me manage my business. Because there was part of me that was like, should I run? What do I do now? They're going to catch me.
I can totally relate to that, by the way, because that's not my strong point. Yeah. That haunts me. That still haunts me.
Right. Yeah. So that was a great way to be, you know, kind of gently advised in a nice way. It was a spiritual guidance, like, honey, you better get that books done. And then I learned how to do that. But it's really interesting how that happens. And when you're young, I think I started so young that I wasn't afraid.
Yeah.
And there's something about the fear thing, the fear factor, that if you can make sure that you have some nest egg or something set aside or some other cash flow coming in, and you don't have that fear, that's going to give you a lot of freedom.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of lessons there about financing your marketing and having too much or too little. But that's a whole other conversation. Sometimes you have too much and you're pouring this marketing money into something that's not proven yet. You don't have product market fit. and you're not ready to go to market. But then there's the other side, which kind of we're at. We have this, this great solution, but we're kind of low on marketing funds. So, with any new business model, it's training a market, because we're business to business to business to consumer. In order to train a market, you really need to get out there, and that's challenging without a good enough marketing budget. So that's kind of where we're at, is working on getting that marketing budget enough to really train and educate and market on a new business model. So,
Right. Yeah. For me, back in the store days, I learned about this magic marketing thing where I would collaborate with different companies.
Yeah.
And I had Crabtree and Evelyn where I bought their fragrance line, and it was protected, and they would pay for marketing.
Oh,
they would give me their ads, like it was done for you ads, and we just put the name of the store and this and that. And so that was my first. And then I learned how to do that with other businesses. And that really helped because we were sharing in the cost.
Yeah.
And we're both getting our message out. And we literally, my store would win prizes over their main store at the Galleria, at the Glendale Galleria. And we would get trips to London and to see their main and this and that. But we had, we're in California, so we had the entertainment industry. I even got the products on the cruise ships. And so it was a different place, and kind of like New York, where you have everything and everybody from everywhere. So locations, everything. And now we're online, so it's a different location.
Yeah.
So different. Everything's different about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's key, is the collaboration. And that's really a focus of ours, is as we're growing, and we just launched, this year, but is to work with our boutiques to do, a co-op marketing, because we're all helping each other, and that's that's the key. And that's really key right now, I think, in the industry, because unless you're a mega, like Amazon, or, you really, evidently the focus now should be on collaborating together to, build business. And that's what we're doing. We're helping other businesses, and doing so, that should really kind of work in our benefit.
Yes, that's so nice. So now, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self, maybe like when you were 10?
Oh, when I was 10. Oh, gosh. Let's see. What would I tell my younger self? That's a really big question, Sheila. There's so many things I would tell myself. Don't let fear. I don't think fear drove me. That's not it. Try not to be a pleaser, which is something that I kind of have always got caught up doing, is not being direct enough. What I need, what I want, instead trying to please everyone else. I think that's a really big lesson that I should have, I wish I could have learned early on. That probably would be it.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. It seems society teaches the independence out of most children.
Especially women, I think,
Yes, it's so different.
Yeah.
Where a guy would be like, nope, no, I don't want that, I'm good, or whatever. And we'll give excuses or reasons, or maybe, or okay, I should. Pressure, all that.
Trying to make everyone happy. And
something, boundaries, I guess,
boundaries.
Going through a difficult relationship like you experienced and I experienced too. There's when you come out of that, there's a whole new level of boundaries, self-love, and healing that needs to happen. Right. And then, like you attract somebody that's healthy and whole, and you're healthy and whole, and it's aligned, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes to rush it takes away from that possibility, because then you start dating the same person you left.
Yeah.
And that happens.
I did that twice, actually. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And that's a good point, because that lesson that I would have taught myself or someone, or hopefully when I was 10, is that boundary, that not trying to please everyone, stand up for yourself. Because I didn't have that, that's why I ended up in almost 2 decades of destruction, of being in a position of feeling like I was in prison and trapped. I wish I had more strength. and wasn't a pushover. That's where, and that's a good like segue. And that's exactly the lesson that would have helped me to get out of that, where I wouldn't have gotten into that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a lot of learning that we go through, and definitely I felt very trapped because of all the relatives involved. And then I had my dad's side of the family, and my dad was like trying to get me to date doctors while I was still married. And I want to introduce you to someone. And he was trying to give messages the other way. And so it was this pull and a really interesting situation. And then to be able to learn, those are rock bottoms in our lives. When you go through a difficult relationship and you lose, and I have a whole chapter on that in the book, and you lose, a lot of other areas of your life are suffering because of that difficult relationship. Billionaires, millionaires, same story, bad relationship. Money goes, you don't care about work, your health isn't as good. All these other pieces of your life need to be rebuilt.
And it's tough. I mean, I lost, I'm still not really sure who I am, honestly. I mean, I hate to say that. And there's a lot of sadness. I'm trying to rebuild it, and I'm not really sure that I ever really will get back what I lost, or even know who I would have been. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. It really is. And it's extremely challenging to kind of be broken down and try to build back up. But I'm really glad that I at least had the strength to at least give it a try and really go for it. I think some of that's genetics and growing up in a family that kind of gets back up off the horse.
Exactly.
But at least I tried. Whatever happens, I have that,
Right. And I don't know, there's what helped me, and this is wild. Maybe somebody listening, this will help. I realized that the other person in the relationship, the unhealthy person, let's say, in whatever the situation was, for me was maybe that relationship too, is if that person's not healthy, if they're not mentally, or something's going on, that's not their best self, then I think, okay, from that person, if they were in a healthy mental state, if they were their best self, they would say, oh no, the piece that was love would say, you need to go, because I would never treat anyone I love so much like this. You need to be away from me because I can't heal right now. I need to go heal by myself. And there's that arm's length. It's difficult with children. But it's that thing about knowing that you did the right thing by not being in a situation that wasn't healthy for you.
You know what? That's a whole other conversation. Because my response to that is there are certain people that don't have that moral capacity in my family, and they could never recognize it. Whole different situation.
Yeah, they may be narcissistic and they don't have the ability. So that's a mental illness.
Yes.
So I looked at it like, okay, well, they're so messed up. I have to be in control and move away, because they don't have the capacity to love and to have the empathy and care that we do. That's such a beautiful gift. And it's such a gift to your children, to my children, to be able to say, okay, you know what, that's not aligned, and to just move on and own my own life and space. And it shows the children that, oh no, we have a new standard now. We might love the other person, the other parent, in their own way, and understand the situation, whatever, at their own capacity. But we know nobody gets to treat us in a way that's not aligned.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's not always easy to get out, though. So especially with that type of person and personality issue, getting out and leaving is not always possible.
No.
And also for the kids. And it gets very destructive. So God willing, you're able to heal, and your children are able to see that you've chosen and were able to remove yourself and them and protect them without getting into details. That's really important.
It really is. And I do have a chapter in the book about that too. And
Okay.
it's all using the Boots formula to reinvent and rebuild, but it's
Absolutely.
about escaping from or getting away from abusive situations in a safe way. And then lots of free resources and ways to connect that sometimes I was like, I didn't know these resources existed
Yeah.
when I was going through it. And so I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure anybody else out there on the planet going through something like that is able to find help.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Yes, it
And
really.
that's why I started that support group, because like locally I was looking, I felt so alone, and I felt it was so difficult for me to relate to people. And I knew it was because I was almost not hollow, but I felt it's difficult to relate. I was afraid to speak out, afraid of so many things because of it. And I felt people that were like me could relate. And it was true. They understood. It was like, you feel that, you did that. It was like, wow, this isn't my imagination. This is real. I mean, it's very bizarre that the similarities that you could find in, that you feel you're so alone, but you're really not. You're really not. Yeah.
Yes. So now I'd love to get a little bit more into an idea as far as for getting back to your business.
Yeah.
As far as getting the wedding dresses. So if I live in Beverly Hills or Vegas, I have places in both. So wherever I'm at, if I'm in Vegas, let's say, what would I just go online to
ShareTheLovely. Go to ShareTheLovely.com. And so you have your selection of dresses that are either pre-owned or are overstocked from our retailers that, last seasons or they bought too much, or COVID caused an issue. Now they have too much. So we're selling them online. And anyone from Las Vegas to New York to, Florida could go online and purchase them and have them shipped to their home as they would any other, online store. Or if they choose to try it on first, they would choose a try before you buy option. And if we don't have a participating retailer in the network, we'll find one in your area. So it usually takes about 7 to 10 days to do that. Right now we're focusing on our pilot areas, which is Ohio, Savannah, Michigan, and Omaha, Nebraska, but we're growing. So we're not, any place around the country has an option to do the try before you buy. It just may take 7 to 10 days to find someone to participate and to act as a host in their area.
Yes. Wow. That's great. That sounds wonderful. And yes, so just getting started and having that, and now you're blessed with a beautiful relationship, and now you have this fun company, and things are finally opening back up, and we're able to have beautiful weddings. I'm filming from a studio where we have a country club, and I have weddings here almost every weekend. So I'm surrounded with it. So it's something that it is happening again. And in Beverly Hills, it's barely starting. In Vegas, it's been happening for a while. So it is nice to have that and not spend all the money so much so.
That's right. You don't have to, break the bank and go into debt and to get into potential, relationship issues because you've overspent. Not only for the bride and couple currently, but when after the wedding, now they can help another couple to also save. So it's like a circular thing that you save and you recoup your wedding spend by reselling your items, and the new couple also does the same.
That's perfect. I love it. All right. Well, now can you share, we're coming to the end of our talking time. So can you share with the audience where they can go to get started?
Yeah, well, go to ShareTheLovely.com, and you could either go to shop or sell. If you want to shop for wedding dresses, you can go to the shop. If you want to sell your wedding dress, whether you're a retail store or a past bride, it's called concierge consignment. So different than the other, classified marketplace out there. We handle it all for you because not every bride wants to be a salesperson. And go through the classified and do the question and answers and the payment process and the shipping. So we kind of do that all for you, which is great for new brides because we kind of are a middleman, and we prep the dress, we clean the dress, we make sure the dress is what, what it needs to be. We provide the information, as a third party. So a little bit different than others in that we really kind of support both the seller and the shopper in a concierge kind of way.
Beautiful. Wow, that's great. All right. So for those tuning in, we will be back after these messages. Thank you again, Bonnie, for sharing about Share the Lovely. All right.
Thank you for having me. It was great speaking with you.
Yes, you too.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I'd like to share a little bit more about the Tea Club.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau Arco Super Tea helps build the red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95 plus shipping. To order, please visit lovemysupertea.com. That's love, L-O-V-E, my, M-Y, super, SUPERTEA.com. So the complete website is lovemysupertea.com. Or call us at 818-288-4128, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5 California time. That's lovemysupertea.com at 818-288-4128.
This is Sheila Mac. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest, where we share real situations with real solutions to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac. I'm giving you some homework. Grab a copy of my bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, to learn the formula to go from rock bottom and back into action in any situation. If you have a burning question for the show, send it in to www.dearsheila.com. Tune in again Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.